Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours, and certainly those of you calling in for the first time. Today is April 19th, 2023. We're in a very good position with regard to the situation with the Iraqi Dinar. I'm going to be getting into that in a moment. First, particularly for those of you calling in for the first time, I'd appreciate it if, having listened to this call, if the things we discuss are of interest, you'll click the subscribe button and share this call with other individuals, like-minded individuals that you think might be interested as well. This is going to be a little shorter call today, simply because we're getting swamped with trust requests and service requests from existing clients based, I would assume, on the notion that the reinstitution of the dinar is close at hand. That's certainly my view. I would suggest, after listening to this call, you take a listen to the call of March 1st, which deals with the history of the central bank. I think it's an important informational call to listen to. Go into the call about 11 minutes into the call, and I think you'll find what's going on very interesting. Of course, the central bank happens to be the problem. On the other hand, it's the imperfections of the central bank which have afforded us this opportunity vis-a-vis the revaluation of the dinar and some of these other currencies. So, of course, what we want to do is take advantage of that situation, exchange our currency, and then, to the extent possible, move out of the central bank system, and particularly with the creation of the central bank digital currency. And we've discussed in the past how to do that, and we'll continue to do so. You might also go to our call of last week, April 12th, which gives a much more detailed overview of the turnkey program we've put in place to assist you. So between the call of March 1st and April 12th, you'll get a really good handle on where we're coming from, what you can do to protect yourself from what's coming. So let's go ahead and talk about the situation with regard to the reinstitution of the dinar. First, of course, by the way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information we believe to be the most relevant. Of course, what's most important to everyone is the window for the potential reinstitution and revaluation of the dinar. We're looking at a window here from April 21st, which is the end of Ramadan and the beginning of Eid al-Fitr, to mid-May. It could take a couple of weeks for all of this to transpire, but the way things are moving, that seems like a reasonable window, again, for the reinstitution of the dinar. But before we get into that, I want to put a side note here. I want to talk a little bit about the demise of the U.S. dollar and the global petrodollar, because, it's a sad fact of history that it's only when we look back that we realized we lived in historic times. Oftentimes we don't realize that we're living through very historic times, and we are right now, because we are witnessing the destruction of the 100-year superiority of the U.S. dollar, both internationally and, of course, its use domestically in this country. This is important, because when we go to the bank, we will be exchanging our currencies for USD. And we need to understand that we're exchanging into a currency that is rapidly losing value. So not only are we going to have to negotiate the exchange, but we're going to have to take measures to offset the devaluation of that currency as it continues. I've got to leave the blame for this where it lies, and it's with Joe Biden. He's literally destroying the U.S. dollar. Over the last 2 years, he's printed over $7 trillion, creating the worst inflationary situation we've had in nearly 50 years. He's also presiding over the replacement of the petrodollar globally. It's being replaced with the euro, the yuan, and the ruble. And it's all the direct result of his international and foreign policy failures. Can't be denied. Can't blame Trump. Can't blame the Republicans. Can't blame the American citizens. Can't blame the oil industry. It falls squarely on the policies of Joe Biden. Now, why has Joe Biden allowed all of this to happen? Well, because the people that put Joe Biden in office told him to do this. It's obvious that Joe Biden is not doing anything on his own. If you doubt me, let's just take a quick review of Joe Biden's career in politics. The man's never had a real job. He's been in politics his entire adult life. He spent most of his political career in the Senate. And while in the Senate, Joe Biden, and this is on record, it cannot be denied, was an unapologetic segregationist. He was a close friend of Senator Robert Byrd, who was not only a member of the KKK, but he held the position of Grand Cyclops. And it was Joe Biden who, in fact, eulogized Senator Byrd at his funeral. Now, Joe Biden envisions himself as the second coming of FDR and the leader of the 21st century progressive movement. Yet by every metric, our country is being bled to death by these policies. So what's the lesson here? Never put a weak and insecure person in a position of power because they do not operate on principle. They operate on self. Joe Biden is a feather in the wind. He's blowing in the wrong direction, and he's taking us all with him. Now, the reason I want to discuss this is because, unfortunately, Joe Biden is also the president at the precise time that we're looking at the reinstitution and revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. Now, Joe Biden could do some things to create problems for us. I'm not saying he will do these things. I'm saying that he could do these things, and because he could do these things, you need to be aware of it. Number one, Joe Biden could rescind G.W. Bush's Executive Order 13303, which allowed us to participate personally in the revaluation of the dinar. I do not think that Joe Biden will rescind Executive Order 13303, again, because he's a feather in the wind. A number of high-ranking Democrats, I'm quite sure, have dinar and other currencies. Joe Biden himself may have a substantial amount of those currencies. If they could figure out a way for them to get theirs and us not to get ours, I'm sure they would do it. But they can't get away with that. So they're just going to have to hold their nose and allow us to go to the bank and do our exchange. Another thing Joe Biden could do is simply sick his new 87,000 IRS agents on dinarians. Why would they do that? Well, number one, they need the money. They don't want us to have it. And presumably we're an easy target because most dinarians are individuals that are not sophisticated investors. They're hardworking middle-class people who, for the first time in their life, are going to have a substantial amount of wealth. So from the perspective of the IRS, they're pretty much easy targets. Joe Biden could also continue to surveil us. Now, this is one of the reasons why you want to establish a family asset protection trust. I'll get into that a little bit later. But it's all of these issues that we have to be aware of because there are ways to circumvent it, but you have to know it's coming. You have to know it's possible. If you anticipate a right cross, you know to duck. If you don't see it coming, you get hit. Now, the other issue is something that's come up recently with some of the officials in Iraq, notably some of the more pro-Iranian officials in Iraq are talking about the fact that they do not see the reinstitution of the dinar occurring in country for another 2 to 3 years, and they give their reasons. One of the reasons they give is that they say that Vietnam seems to be operating fairly well in a program rate, and they've been operating in a program rate for some time. Now, we have to differentiate what's going on in Vietnam and what's going on in Iraq. Remember, after the war in Vietnam, the communists took the country over. So the country operates on something I would call centralized capitalism or state capitalism, where the government operates in a sense in a capitalistic way, but they deny that right to participate to the private sector and to its citizens. That's not what's happening in Iraq. Iraq is doing the reverse. It's opening up its economy. It's introducing more capitalistic things for the citizens of Iraq. The other thing I might mention is this. I would ask these questions of these individuals that try to compare the situation in Iraq with Vietnam. For example, in Vietnam, are they de-dollarizing or are they removing foreign currencies? No. Are they negotiating with the IMF and the World Bank for international contracts? No. Are they in Vietnam producing 2 billion barrels of oil a day to sell on the open global market? No. Are they currently educating their citizens on the imminent reinstitution of their currency and creating their own national currency? No. They're not doing any of these things. So the comparison, once again, are the naysayers in Iraq and around the world who, for their own personal reasons or for political agendas, do not want to see the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. But the momentum, fortunately, well, at least in my opinion, cannot be stopped. So let's talk a little bit more about what's going on in Iraq. We know that the parliament has concluded the second reading of the budget. Things are moving along very well. The pro-Iranian members of the coalition framework, Iraqi and his mob, have pretty much been nullified. They're simply too few in numbers. Their policies are now well known and simply too unpopular, so things are going to be proceeding. The Iraqi delegation was in Washington to discuss the completion of their monetary policy, not to ask for permission, but to explain to the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve Bank what they're doing. The citizens of Iraq are also being educated. They're transitioning to the exclusive use of their dinar for the exchange of goods or services in the country and for transactions with their ATMs. The IMF, the World Bank, and the U.S. Treasury Department are all on record willing to assist Iraq with their economic and monetary reforms. We also know that the governor of the CBI is negotiating with Visa and MasterCard for international cards utilizing the dinar. But the release of this will be the final tell that we're done, is when they announce a date for the official release of the new category small notes and the fills to the banks, available to the citizens and in the ATMs. That will be the official end of the program rate and the in-country float reinstatement of the currency. One other thing, Soudani keeps saying that the value of the dinar will exceed the value of the dollar. That necessarily, the math is very clear. That means the dinar has to be worth a slight premium over the dollar when it reinstitutes. So let's just say, hypothetically, $1.15, $1.20. And, of course, the float will quickly take us to the pre-program rate of somewhere around $3.46. I think it could go higher than that. I've seen an extrapolation of the Basel IV compliant rate of $4.85. I'm not saying that will happen, but I am saying that I would not be surprised if that, in fact, did happen, and it could move in that direction very quickly. So that's a very good thing. Now, that's where we are today. As I said, this is going to be a shorter call. I just want to touch on our Family Asset Protection Trust package quickly, the benefits of it. Of course, the package, by establishing this package, and when I discuss this here, I'm not just talking to people that have currencies. I'm talking to any American citizen who understands that this bunch in Washington are creating a high surveillance, high tax state. And the only way to protect yourself is to avail yourself of the constitutional rights embedded in the Bill of Rights to protect you from what the founders saw coming, this bunch. And they're a bad bunch in there. I don't know a single person from Biden on down through his entire cabinet that has a record of competency. They're either grossly incompetent or they have an agenda that they're just not willing to just come out front and say what it is they're trying to do. But as I said before, they are failing on every single metric. So we have to utilize whatever tools are available to us to opt out of this dystopian nightmare that they've created in the last 2 years. I'll just give you one example. Since the end of the Cold War, the number one geopolitical objective of the United States of America was to ensure no alliance between Russia and China in order to preserve the balance of power globally. Joe Biden, in a matter of 18 months, has managed to undo 40 years of meticulous geopolitical effort. Now, is it because he's a bumbling idiot, or is it because he's doing what he's been told to do? I think it's a combination of both, but it doesn't really matter. We're in a very bad place. So the only thing that we can do is vote when we have the opportunity to do so. Discuss these issues with people that perhaps are not as informed as you about all of this, and do whatever we can to protect and preserve the things that we've worked for our children and our grandchildren. Now, when you establish our Family Asset Protection Trust package, whether you're a Dinarian or not, there are a number of very important benefits that you will not enjoy if you do not establish such a package. Number one, you're going to preserve your privacy and your anonymity. You will, in fact, be invisible. The assets that you enjoy in your life, financial and tangible, will be in trust. Your net worth and those holdings will be sealed. The general public will have no knowledge of your net worth, your actual holdings. Second, by transferring your assets to this trust, the taxable event of the revaluation and other events as the result of the buying and selling that you will do once you acquire this wealth will occur within the trust, not you personally. That's important because the IRS likes to move quickly. They are very hesitant to pursue audits or presumably any legal action against an individual that's a beneficiary of a very sophisticated trust because federal agencies like slam dunks. They play a numbers game. They know that you've probably got very competent legal representation. They know that you've got a very sophisticated trust package, one that many of them themselves possess. So they just do the numbers. They can go after 10 other individuals whose assets are not in trust rather than hoping to pierce your trust. Third, the gifting mechanism in this trust. You can gift currencies, pre-RV currencies, to avoid the federal gift tax and control the post-RV proceeds. But after the revaluation, or if you happen to be a person of wealth, this gifting trust is very good mechanism for creating life estates for individuals. So you can gift, for example, cars, boats, homes, other things to family and friends, but they remain within the trust and in your control. They also return to the trust when you end the gift for any reason, or the person passes away, or for whatever reason. Again, everything reverts back to the trust. By establishing this trust, not only will your estate bypass the cost and delay of probate when you pass away, but this trust allows you to avoid the federal estate tax. The federal estate tax, which is the tax that is assessed when in order to transfer your estate to heirs, could be as much as 65% of the entire estate, in excess of approximately $10 million. But if your estate is within our trust package, not only will there be no probate, the federal estate tax will be zero. Lastly, the way this trust is structured, it provides bulletproof asset protection from litigation, both pre- and post-RV. These benefits are simply lost to you if you have not established your family asset protection trust package prior to the revaluation in these other currencies. But these benefits are lost to you if you are simply an American citizen that possesses any amount of wealth. You're basically a ward of the state, and they can play whatever games they want to play with you. But once you've created this trust, and I'll mention this, other individuals have established LLCs, sub-S corporations, family limited partnerships, and other manner of things in order to provide some level of privacy or asset protection. But all of the entities I just mentioned are statutory in nature, meaning they're created on a state-by-state basis. They are registered with the state. The state has all of the internal information about those things, and you will pay an annual fee to maintain those entities. That is not the case with our trust. Our trust is a wholly private entity protecting you beyond anything else available. This trust is not registered with the city, with the county, with the state, or the federal government. You are flying invisible. They have no knowledge of what's there. If you're ever involved in civil litigation, in criminal litigation, in an IRS audit, or anything of the nature, in order for anyone to find out what's in that trust, they need to go to a court and show that you have committed a fraud on someone or some group. So by establishing this trust, by paying your taxes, by obeying the law, your wealth, your estate are completely invisible. So the high tax, high surveillance state will not be in control of your life because you will have barred them irrevocably from doing so. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV and financial assets like checking accounts, savings accounts, and investment accounts post-RV, one optional gift sub-trust if you wish to gift currencies to family and friends and manage the post-RV proceeds, but which sub-trust can be converted to a standard sub-trust at any time, and 8 additional standard sub-trusts to hold financial assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. Now, this was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, a package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided to market to Dinarians, we knew that that price tag would be too unaffordable. So by simplifying and back-end loading the package, we can reduce the cost to $3,000. There are a number of ways you can pay for that. Pay us up front. We'll discount the price to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. That's not possible. We even have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which some would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust package to you. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar occurs, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. So with the deferred payment arrangement, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for getting their affairs in order and their trust in force prior to the revaluation should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would actually be less than the $100 a month you'd pay under our deferred payment arrangement. So we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Our objective is to help you get your affairs in order and your trust in force prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies for all of the reasons we discussed here. And beyond that, for any American citizen that's sick and tired of what's going on in this country. Now, I will go to a Q&A here. As I said, I've got a lot of people contacting me by text, by email, by phone. They want to get their trust done. We're working as quickly as we can. We do have a couple of additional paralegals that will work with us if we need to. I do have about a dozen people I need to call back. If you haven't received a return call from me, it's simply because I'm doing the best I can. I'm on the phone nonstop. That's kind of why I've had to truncate this call. But I guess while we're here, I will go to our Q&A here. While I'm waiting for any potential questions, I do want to mention one other thing for our newer callers, and it's this. And this is one of the reasons why you need to establish a trust package. Just give me a moment here to find what I'm looking for. Can't seem to find the thing I wanted to discuss here. Just give me a moment. Well, let me simply put, the reason you need to establish this trust package is because under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of those assets or lose them outright. This is particularly the case with the way things are moving in this country right now. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are, of course, investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is identity theft. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains loss through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. And you can add to that the fact that a high surveillance, high tax state is created precisely to make it difficult for you to accumulate and to preserve your wealth. So the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the creation of a package of family asset protection trusts like ours, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you're anticipating a substantial increase in value. We at Trust Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre and post RV as we understand them. So if the things we've discussed here today are of interest to you, first I would respectfully ask that you hit the subscribe button so that you can listen to our weekly calls and share our calls with those that you think would be interested. I also suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation informational trust package. It does contain everything that you would need if you wish to proceed, but that's entirely up to you. The package contains a lot of information about us, about the trusts, about the currencies. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you, and there will be no consultation fee. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. If you wish to order our initial no-obligation package, you can do that by email or by phone. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. Contact us by phone or email if you wish our initial package. You should have it within 24 hours. You can review the package. Contact us if you have any questions. If you wish to proceed, everything you need is in the package. Once we have your fee and your trust application, you should have your trust within 5 working days. We've been able to reduce that to 3 working days, but as of the last few days, the requests for trusts have become so numerous that we might be back to 5 days, but we will work as quickly as we can. It's not the reinstitution of the dinar that you got to beat. It's the revaluation globally. So you still do have time, but the time is waning. So let's go to our Q&A. Our first caller here is area code 612. That's 612. Go ahead.
Jim, thanks for taking my call. I'll be quick.
Sure.
So if as a client, if I do have a question for the law firm, how do you suggest I or we go about that?
Either call us and just say that you have a specific question, or send us an email with your question and you will get a response.
Okay, and so I work with you as the liaison, you and the law firm in Bly?
The only way that we would have to go directly to the attorney, if it's a technical legal question that would require the attorney's direct input, 9 out of 10 times it's something that I can pretty much handle. But you'll get your answer one way or the other.
Copy that. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 918. That's 918. Go ahead.
Good morning. Good day to you, Jim. This is Leon from Tulsa.
Yes, sir.
I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I have your trust. Got a quick question. The only problem I'm having is getting my bank. I have 3 different institutions, and I'm having trouble with all 3 of them trying to open up a trust account with them.
Okay, now
what's the procedure?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Okay.
Our trust by design looks like a business trust. Most banks will not work with a business trust. This is why we have advised people not to establish or attempt to establish a bank account prior to the revaluation. When the dinar reinstitutes in country, a lot of information will be provided to you. One of them is our attorney's letter explaining that our trust is not a business trust. It's a personal asset protection trust package that has some characteristics of a business trust. The other thing you will have, of course, is our exchange protocol document. And the third thing you will have are your currencies. I promise you, when you go to the bank with your currencies and you make it clear to the bank that you will not use their bank if they don't establish a master trust bank account at that bank that day to deposit the USD from the exchange, you're probably not going to have any problem at all. It's about the money. When you go in to set up an account, you're nobody to them. That's just the way the banks operate. When you go in there with 5 million dinar, we like to kiddingly refer to it as the Jed Clampett effect. You're the guy with the money. The rule book gets set to the side, and they will work with you. If for some reason you are dealing with some idiot who just doesn't understand what he's doing, you have to be able to say, well, I'm sorry, but I'm operating for good reason legally with my trust, so I'll just have to go to another bank. You probably won't make it to your car, but if you do, that's the wrong bank for you.
Gotcha. All right. So in order to have that protection, I mean, I got the trust. Take the trust with me when we go to exchange. And
what I need you to do I need you to do is to send me an email and just say, hey, Jim, I need the documents the additional documents I need when I go to do my exchange. I will send you the exchange protocol document, and I will send you the bank letter that explains that ours is not a business trust.
All right. Thank you, sir. God bless.
Yes, sir.
Don't overwork.
I got to do what I got to do, but thanks for God bless you too, my man. Take care.
All right.
And thank you for your service.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, Leon was our last caller for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Based on the information we have, of course, we continue to move in the right direction. I hope our window turns out to be the case, which is, again, between April 21st and May 15th. So for those of you that have not yet gotten your trust in force, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. If nothing else, it's extremely informative, and this is information every American needs. We'll be happy to assist you in every way. Our next call is scheduled for next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Have a great week. Bye-bye.